Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast, the #1 podcast for the strategies, tactics, and actions high wage earners need for living an intentionally designed life of wealth and resilience.
Welcome to the Go Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in creating a wealthy and resilient life. I'm your host, Billy Keels, and we're back for another solo episode. I really like doing these, and I'm really wanting to hear the feedback from you. Are you enjoying getting back to this version? Hopefully they're much shorter. They get to the point, and they're also helping you because we know that there's a lot of podcasts out there, and we just appreciate that you continue to be back here, invest your time with us, and continue to help to keep us in front of others because we're still in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. And I think there's over like 3.3 million podcasts. So for us to be in the top 1.5% is really thanks to you. So thanks for continuing to tag us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. It means the world to us. Continuing to leave your honest written reviews as well as your ratings. If you have not done that yet, would really appreciate that because that helps us to bring the podcast to more people. And then also too, for those of you who are interested in seeing or listening to or getting the transcripts of any of the other previous episodes, just go to billykeels.com/podcast and you can find every single episode, or well over 390 some at this point. So once again, it's billykeels.com/podcast and find out everything you want to know. So one of the things I wanted to share, because I get this question a lot, especially from really busy, high-paid professionals or small business owners as well. A lot of small business owners. I've actually been speaking to more and more people who are in tech, in software, in small software companies. And as I speak to either founders or people that are working in companies, one question comes up all the time. And that question is like, I've got so many different priorities in life, and I just don't have enough time to get to the stuff that I want to get to. And I came across this exact same challenge when I was in my corporate life, right? Spent 26 years in corporate life. I've been fortunate. I ran a business that was about $100 million across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. The last 7 years, I was working in a sales exec role. So I was doing that and able to practice my Spanish and Catalan language, sold over $25 million in a single sale, which was fantastic doing that in another language, and different cultures. So that was also fun, interesting, exciting, and a massive growth experience. And along the way, I was also a young father and wanting to be at home, wanting to give everything at the office. And the whole essence of time, because this is a commodity that is the most valuable asset that any of us have, because once you use it, once you invest it, you can't get it back, right? And so the fact that we're all fighting for the same amount of time and how are we best leveraging the time that we have, it's no wonder that I get the question all the time. And especially for those of you that are in highly paid roles, because you feel the pressure to, you got to demonstrate at the office that you're worth the money that they're paying you. And then you want to make sure that you're transferring that to your home life and making sure that you're there and you're present. And I was there, right? Because in my career, I realized there was a certain point that corporate life wasn't everything that was on the scope for me. Like there was much more out there for me. And so although I liked my job a lot, I realized I wanted to make that 9 to 5 optional for my life. And I was able to figure out a plan. And at the same time, I was struggling because there was moments that was really, really hard because I felt like I wanted to be ahead. I wanted to be productive. I'm a recovering perfectionist after all. So it's one of those things I always wanted to be like the A student. And I wanted to be able to do those things. And I realized that I wanted to figure out how to get more time, but I knew that I wanted to do that. And I didn't want to bother my family, right? Because they're having more time means maybe being away or maybe being noisy or whatever, because like I lived in a flat here in Europe. A flat is like an apartment in the center of town. And here in Barcelona. And so it was one of those things, like the more that I moved around, it was making noise, possibly bothering the family. It was going to make it through also. How was I going to make it through the workday if I was exhausted all the time? So all these things were going on outside. And then I just knew that I had to get ahead because I had to make my 9 to 5. I had to make my job optional in my life. That became a life priority for me, for my family, and really be able to focus more time and energy with my boys, right? And so as I went through that, I recognized that there was not enough time in the day, right? And today I'm going to share like literally the specific plan that I used to create like a month that most people think, well, there's no, like, how can you even do that? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a very simple plan, super simple. Maybe not easy for some of you, but it's a very simple plan. You're going to get it. You're going to see how you can actually create a month, over 30 days, really simply. Okay. So once I started feeling like I had to create this, then like everybody else, I put the plan together and figured out, okay, well, what is it that I need to do to be able to feel that I'm staying ahead, feel that I am moving forward, feel that I am getting to my own life priorities and being able to create time out of thin air. That wasn't a very good snap. Okay, maybe those were better. Anyway, so there were, internally there was this thing. Okay, well, how do I create more time and not impact my family and not negatively impact my family, or how am I not going to be full energy when I'm at my job? So I figured out a way to be able to not only get to the point where I'm creating more time, but I realized that when I did that internally for me, I felt better. I really felt better. And here's the plan. Like, it's a really super simple plan. Are you ready for the plan? Okay. I even wrote about this on a post in LinkedIn not too long ago. So if you're over there, if you're hearing this again, well, it's just reinforcement. And if you're not, you can check what I've got going out over on LinkedIn as well. Got a lot of sharing over there too. So here's the plan, everybody. And I know a lot of you are early risers. You're high achievers. You're A students, and so this should not come as any shock to you. So I felt like the best way to be more productive was when I had less interference, because at the time I didn't really know how to set boundaries. I didn't know how to keep my phone off, and I didn't know how to do all that stuff. So I thought, well, when are less people going to be bothering me? And that's typically in the morning. So for a period of time, and this is, keep the pencil out because this is just going to help you set the priorities. So this actually started the night before, and I knew what I wanted to do. So that was already written down, what I was going to do with the first, actually it was almost 3 hours of my day, which was about the first 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'll tell you why it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Just a second. Because I wanted to be able to get through as much activity that was aligned with my life priorities, which once again was to be able to get to make my 9 to 5, make my job, my high paid job. I wanted to make it optional, meaning that I could continue to go in if I wanted to. And if one day it was time to go, well, it was time to go. And I did do that, by the way. The last 4 years of my job, I was going in literally because I wanted to, not because I needed to. We can maybe even talk about that in a future episode, how I got to do that. But here's the plan, everybody. So if you're running on the treadmill, don't worry, just listen to it again. Or if you're sitting at your desk, we'll get ready to write or type, because here it goes. Here's the plan. Here's how you can create literally over a month by following this very simple plan. So what I used to do is the night before, I would write out what I wanted to actually do. And then each morning I was waking up at 4 a.m. And by the way, I didn't even have an alarm clock. My body was just waking up because I knew that I wanted to make my 9 to 5 optional. So, and also too, in my flat, maybe when I woke up people in the house, but I went to the opposite end of the house. So from 4 until 6:15 in the morning, the focus was 100% on me, right? Focused on me for 2 hours and 45 minutes every day for a finite period of time. I'm a big fan of the Hal Elrod, The Savers. So I went through that, through my silence, affirmation, visualization. I got in my exercise. So a lot of times it meant I went out running, or I was doing push-ups, calisthenics, stretching. I would do reading, at least a chapter a day. And then I would scribe, I would write. So that's the plan that I followed afterwards. And this was between 4 and 6:45 in the morning. I would work on my business plan. I would create content, because this was also the point in time where I had to kind of face some of my fears. I started creating content. I was posting stuff on Facebook, on YouTube. Actually was even watching one of my YouTube videos with my son the other day. It was pretty funny. He was like, yeah, it's got over 135,000 views. I was like, wow, okay. I didn't think teaching people how to play cash flow 101 would be so popular. But anyway, that was one of the pieces of content that was created over on YouTube. I would read the Wall Street Journal. And then also too, I would focus on what else I would need to do in my side hustle, right? Looking for ways to increase and bring in more properties, writing more LOIs, letters of intent. And these are the things that I did for a finite period, for a longer stretch of time, but it was every single day. So let's work the math. After that, I sat down and I would have breakfast with my sons. I loved walking my boys to school. And then I would work from my office, but that happened after 7:30 to 9. But let's bring it back to 4 a.m. to 6:45. So if we just do the math on that, let's say it's approximately 3 hours. And I was doing that 5 days a week. So that's an extra 15 hours a week. Then that 15 hours, say on average, I was doing that 50 weeks a year, because even during vacation, I was working and making sure that things were moving forward. Because once again, I was working on making my 9 to 5 optional. And then that 750 additional hours, if you take that 24 hours a day, 750 hours divided by 24 hours, which would be the equivalent of 1 day, makes it 31.25 days. So you have just created, by following this very simple plan, you've been able to create over a month worth of free time. And I say free time because you're making it productive, because you were starting the night before, just like I did, knowing what your goals were, knowing what the outcomes were that you wanted. And you, in essence, have created 30 minutes. Now, a lot of times people say, well, yeah, Billy, but when you're going to sleep? Well, I was going to sleep when it was time for me to go to sleep and after my kids went to bed. And so the idea is, how can you create more time for your life priorities? I've just given you a really simple plan how to do that. Simple. For some of you, it may not be easy, but it's a simple plan that you can follow easily. And if you are tied strong enough to the outcome that you want, for me, it was making my 9 to 5 optional. I did that. I also had people that were helping me, holding me accountable. I held myself to a really high standard, hold myself to a really high standard. And at the same time, I still got help externally, because that was really something that, I just wanted that external accountability. If any of this resonates with you and you feel like you also need some accountability helping you to get to your goal, you don't want to talk to people at your office, you don't want to talk to other family members, it's somebody that you want to know that's been there, that's done that, was a high wage earner, was a high achiever, was in the top talent program, these types of things, and you want a high accountability, high touch type of situation, check out what we've got going on. We've got some advisory services. You can check that out. You can go to billykeels.com/advising. When you get there's a small application. You can fill that out. Once again, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but if you are one of the individuals that needs or wants to have, more you want to have that accountability, that high touch, go to billykeels.com/advising. While you're listening to this, go back through, listen to the plan again. I'm going to be here, everybody, preparing the next conversation or the next solo episode. So until then, go out and make it a great day. Thank you very much. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9 to 5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.